Hello everyone, welcome to Chapter 2 of the Java tutorial. Today we are going to see how Java works, how you actually write your first computer program in Java and run that on your computer. Well, in Java you first of all need to write the Java source code. That is basically the task of the programmer. And the source code is just some file of text which you store then in a file with the ending Java. So files with Java ending, they always contain Java source code. And then after you did your job, you need to compile that source code with the command javac. And there you need to specify the file containing your source code. What is happening then is that the Java compiler translates your source code to what is called machine-readable Java bytecode. So if you open such a bytecode, it's not really understandable to humans, but it's useful for the machine then, for the interpreter to execute your program. And that is then the next step. You want to run your program. That is then happening with the Java interpreter, with the command Java. There you need to specify then the name test without the file ending actually. And then you see, okay, now the program is executed. Okay, for the first step, this writing the source code, they could use any text editor actually. We are using Notepad++, as you will see soon. And this source code looks as follows in a very simple example. So here it's just one program that is printing some text to the system output. Namely, it's writing the string hello world. If you have learned any other programming language already, you are probably quite familiar with this example. That's usually the first thing that you implement in any programming language. Here in Java, of course, there's also some additional text. You have this class test and these curly brackets and so on. For the moment, it's not that important to understand the details of what you see here. The most important line of code here is this. That is basically the command that we would like to be executed. Well, what is important to know is that Java source code is always structured in classes. Here we have just one class, namely this class test. Then this class test needs to be stored in a corresponding file, which needs to have the same name. So the file name is the same as the class name, and the file name ends then with .java. That is always indicating this is Java source code. Then what is important here is in every Java program you have one method that is called main. In principle, you can have many methods within each class. These methods, they kind of represent units of your software, but the main method is most important because that's the method that is executed when you start your program. So the first method that is run is always the method main. Well, then you see here in red, that's the method head. Public static void string args. In general, this method head is telling us about the arguments that you need to provide to this method and the output that you get from this method. So that is in principle what this method head is representing. For the moment, however, we don't need to look at the details here. For main, it's actually always the same, so you can just learn this or use this as a blueprint and copy-paste this into your own source code. Well, what is then more important is this single line of code, which is actually doing something. And here it's doing the following. We have this system.out, that's our output. And here we're saying, okay, please print the following line, println. And then in these round brackets, you type the method arguments, namely the thing you would like to hand over to the method. In this example, it's just one string, meaning a sequence of characters, hello world. And this string is indicated with these parentheses. So here, this is indicating the beginning of the string, and this is indicating the end of the string. So if you execute this program then with Java test, what is happening is that on the standard output, you will see this hello world. And that's all. Well, finally, just a few more notes. You see the class test, it's beginning here and it's ending there. So beginning and end is always indicated with these curly brackets. And also the method main is also here nicely captured within these curly brackets. Here that's the beginning of the method and the end of the method. Then we have here at the end of every command we have a semicolon. So that is always the end of a command. Well, and that is actually all for the moment what I wanted to present in this session, at least with these slides. However, I would like to now switch also to the text editor. As I said, we use Notepad++ quite often. And let's type here our first Java program. So that was something like this, class test. Now the curly brackets. And now within that class I define this method. Well, I've done this many times, so that shouldn't be a big issue for me. Static void main, and now string args. That's precisely the signature of this main method that is required. And now within this method we can write system.out, so that's the output of our computer system, and there we say, okay, print line, and here we could say hello world, like this. So that is now our first Java class. We need to store it now. I'm storing it in a file that I call test.java. And what is happening now is that, first of all, you see here in Notepad++ that this is now my file called test.java. And because I have chosen this ending Java, the text editor also knows now that this is Java source code. And accordingly, the text editor is doing some syntax highlighting here. It's showing these keywords of our Java programming language in a different color, so that's nicely highlighted. Well, that was now the first part of the implementation. Now, next will be the compilation of this source code. For that, I need to switch to the command line. So, in Windows, I just need to type cmd, and that is opening my command line. And now I need to go to the corresponding folder, that was hownet. Okay, so this is now the folder containing my source code. I can, with the command dir, I can see, well, there's only one file in this folder currently, namely this source code file test.java. And now I'm saying java c test.java, and I see there's at least no error, which means apparently my source code was compiled correctly. I can see that now also again with the command dir. I can see, okay, there's another file now. It's not just this test.java, but also additionally I see there's this test.class. And now I can run the source code Java test, or I can run the software, I should say, with the Java interpret.java and with the main method within my class test. Now, if I'm doing that, I get this output as expected, hello world. That's all for this session today. Thank you very much and bye-bye.